Welcome back to the channel, coins collectors, treasure hunters, and everyone who loves discovering valuable coins hiding in plain sight. Today, we are taking a detailed look at a fascinating United States coins. Coin number 1. This B1983 Washington quarter with the P mint mark, described in black condition with a claimed market value of $241, 0th a quarter, may look like an ordinary piece of pocket change. But certain coins can become extremely interesting when their condition, minting characteristics, errors, varieties, or exceptional preservation make them different from the millions of ordinary examples produced. In this video, we are going to explore the history of the 1983 Washington quarter, what the P mint mark means, why condition matters, what collectors should examine, and why a very high valuation should always be verified carefully through professional grading and documented market sales. The Washington quarter is one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The design was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and it eventually became one of the most familiar denominations in everyday American commerce. By 1983, the quarter had already been part of American life for more than half a century. The coin features a portrait of George Washington on the obverse, while the reverse carries the traditional eagle design used during this period. Although billions of Washington quarters circulated across the United States, individual examples can still attract collectors when they possess unusual characteristics, outstanding preservation, errors, varieties, or other features that separate them from ordinary circulation pieces. Now let's focus specifically on the 1983 Washington quarter with the P mint mark. The letter P indicates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. One of the first things a collector should do when examining a 1983 quarter is locate the mint mark and confirm that it is actually a P. On Washington quarters from this era, the mint mark can be found on the obverse side near the bottom of Washington's portrait area. A genuine P mint mark is an important identifying feature because coins from different U.S. mint facilities can have different production histories, populations, and collector interest. The year 1983 is particularly interesting to Washington quarter collectors because coins from this period are frequently encountered in circulated condition, but finding examples with exceptional surfaces can be much more challenging. Everyday handling causes coins to collect scratches, contact marks, abrasions, discoloration, and other signs of circulation. Therefore, a coin that has remained remarkably well preserved can attract much more attention than a typical quarter that has spent years moving through cash registers, vending machines, banks, and pockets. When someone describes a coin as being in black condition, it is important to understand that this is not a standard professional grading term used by major third-party grading services. The appearance may refer to dark toning, heavy discoloration, environmental staining, oxidation, or simply a visual description used by a seller or collector. Dark coloration does not automatically mean that a coin is rare or valuable. In some cases, natural toning can be attractive to collectors, while in other cases, dark surfaces may indicate environmental damage, improper cleaning, chemical exposure, usage or corrosion. That distinction is extremely important when evaluating any coin claimed to be worth a very large amount of money. So what exactly should you look for? Start with the date. Make sure the coin clearly reads 1983. Next, carefully inspect the mint mark. Confirm that the letter P is present and that it has the correct appearance for the period. Do not rely only on photographs from the internet, because lighting, magnification, image editing, and camera settings can make ordinary characteristics appear unusual. A genuine examination should involve a strong light source, magnification, and comparison with authenticated examples. The next step is to examine Washington's portrait. Look carefully at the hair, cheek, jawline, neck, and surrounding fields. These areas can reveal contact marks and wear. On a circulated coin, the highest points of the design generally show wear first. On a high-grade example, the details should remain sharply defined. However, high detail alone does not establish an extraordinary value. Professional grading considers many factors, including strike quality, surface preservation, luster, marks, wear, eye appeal, and other characteristics. The fields of the coin are also extremely important. The large open areas around Washington's portrait can reveal scratches, hairlines, abrasions, spots, and contact marks. On coins with high grades, the fields are often closely examined because even small marks can affect the final grade. A coin can appear beautiful to the naked eye, but reveal numerous contact marks under magnification. This is why professional graders use controlled lighting and magnification when examining valuable coins. Now turn the coin over and study the reverse. The eagle, inscriptions, lettering, and surrounding fields should all be examined carefully. Look at United States of America, quarter dollar, and the other design elements. Check for unusual doubling, missing details, distorted lettering, die cracks, die breaks, unusual shapes, or other characteristics. But remember that not every strange-looking feature is an error. Mechanical damage, scratches, dents, machine doubling, die deterioration, and environmental effects can create appearances that inexperienced collectors may mistakenly identify as valuable mint errors. Another important factor is condition. Coin collectors commonly use grading scales to describe preservation. Professional grading services use numerical grades, generally ranging from heavily worn examples at the lower end to exceptionally preserved coins at the highest levels. Terms such as good, very fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated, and mint state are commonly encountered, while numerical grades provide greater precision. For an uncirculated coin, a grade in the MS range indicates that the coin does not show the normal wear associated with circulation. Extremely high grades can become significantly more difficult to obtain because tiny marks and imperfections can prevent a coin from reaching the top levels. If your 1983 with P Washington quarter has dark or black coloration, do not clean it before having it examined. This is one of the most important recommendations for collectors. Cleaning a coin can permanently damage its original surfaces and potentially reduce its desirability. Scrubbing, polishing, rubbing, chemical dipping, toothpaste, abrasive materials, or household cleaners can leave visible hairlines or alter the original surface. Even when the intention is to make the coin look better, cleaning can have the opposite effect. Instead, handle the coin carefully by its edges. Avoid touching the major surfaces with your fingers because oils and moisture can leave marks. Store the coin in a suitable non-reactive holder designed for numismatic material. If you believe the coin may be valuable, avoid unnecessary handling and consider having it evaluated by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service. The composition of the 1983 Washington quarter is another interesting part of its story. By this period, the United States had transitioned from the traditional 90% silver composition used for Washington quarters before 1965 to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that a normal 1983 quarter is not a silver quarter simply because it is old. Many beginning collectors make the mistake of assuming that every quarter from the 20th century contains silver. In reality, the date and composition must be considered carefully. The 1983 with P quarter therefore represents an interesting period in American coinage. It is old enough to attract collectors interested in 20th century US coins, but it is also common enough that ordinary circulated examples are not automatically rare. The challenge is identifying whether a particular specimen possesses something unusual that could justify substantial collector interest. Next, coin number 2. This 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark, described as being in very fine condition with a claimed market value of $253, zeroth. At first glance, a 1974 Washington quarter may look like an ordinary 25-cent coin. But coin collecting teaches us an important lesson. Sometimes the smallest details can make a coin much more interesting. The date, mint mark, condition, surfaces, errors, varieties, and history of a coin can all influence collector interest and potential value. In this video, we will examine the history of the 1974 Washington quarter, explain what a missing mint mark means, discuss very fine condition, explore possible reasons a particular example might attract extraordinary attention, and explain why a claimed value as high as $253,000 must always be professionally verified. The Washington quarter is one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. The design featuring George Washington was introduced in 1932, originally created to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. Over the decades, Washington's portrait became a familiar part of American commerce. Millions of Americans have handled Washington quarters without ever paying attention to the small details that collectors carefully study. The coin may have been used to purchase a newspaper, buy a snack, operate a machine, or simply sit in a drawer for decades. For collectors, however, every date and mint mark tells a story. The 1974 Washington quarter was produced during an important period in American coinage. By this time, the United States had already moved away from the traditional silver composition used for Washington quarters, dated 1964 and earlier. The quarter of 1974 was a copper-nickel-clad coin rather than a traditional 90% silver quarter. Therefore, simply being a 1974 quarter does not mean the coin contains silver. Collectors should learn the differences between pre-1965 silver Washington quarters and the later clad issues because composition is one of the first factors to consider when identifying older U.S. coins. Now let's talk about the very fine condition mentioned for this coin. Very fine, often abbreviated as VF, is a recognized grade range used by coin collectors to describe a coin that has experienced moderate circulation but still retains substantial design detail. A very fine Washington quarter can show noticeable wear on the highest parts of Washington's portrait and the reverse design, but the major features remain clearly visible. The exact grade depends on the amount and location of wear, the sharpness of the details, and the overall condition of the surfaces. If you believe you have a valuable 1974 Washington quarter, one of the first things you should do is avoid cleaning it. This advice cannot be emphasized enough. Many collectors make the mistake of trying to make an old coin shiny by using household chemicals, polishing compounds, abrasive materials, or even simple rubbing. Unfortunately, cleaning can permanently damage the coin's original surface. It can create hairlines, remove natural luster, change the appearance of the metal, and reduce collector appeal. One of the most interesting possibilities when examining older quarters is a mint error. Coins are manufactured through highly controlled processes, but errors can occasionally occur. A genuine mint error can make an otherwise common coin much more collectible. Examples of major mint errors can include off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, dramatic die-related errors, and certain recognized doubled dies. However, not every unusual mark or irregularity is a mint error. For example, damage occurring after a coin leaves the mint can produce strange shapes and raised or flattened areas. A quarter might be dropped, struck against another object, squeezed in machinery, exposed to chemicals, or otherwise damaged. Such damage is not normally considered a valuable mint error. The key question is whether the unusual characteristic was created during the manufacturing process at the United States Mint or occurred later. The absence of a mint mark should be examined carefully, but again, it is important to remember that Philadelphia coins from this era normally did not carry a mint mark. Therefore, the absence of a mint mark on a 1974 quarter is not by itself evidence that something went wrong during production. This is one of the most common misunderstandings found in online coin videos. The same principle applies to scratches. A scratch can sometimes look like doubling or an unusual die characteristic when viewed under poor lighting. A raised line may be related to the die, while a recessed line may be post-mint damage. Understanding the physical relationship between the coin's surface and the unusual feature can help determine its origin. The 1974 quarter is also interesting because it belongs to the era of copper-nickel-clad coinage. If you examine the edge of the coin, you may notice the familiar layered appearance associated with clad U.S. quarters. This edge can provide useful information when determining whether a coin has an unusual composition. A wrong planchet error, for example, could potentially have a very different appearance or weight. However, such claims should always be verified professionally. Another important factor is provenance, or the documented history of a coin. A coin with a strong history, especially one that has been previously certified or sold through a reputable auction, can be easier to evaluate. Documentation can help establish authenticity and previous market interest. This becomes particularly important when a coin is being valued at an extraordinary amount. The world of coin collecting contains both genuine discoveries and exaggerated claims. Some valuable coins truly have sold for astonishing amounts, but those coins usually have something very unusual about them. A common date alone is rarely enough. The most valuable coins often combine rarity, condition, demand, historical importance, and authentication. For people who enjoy searching through old coins, this type of research can be extremely rewarding. You don't need expensive equipment to begin. A good light, a magnifying glass, a reliable coin reference, and patience can take you a long way. The most important tool is knowledge. If you discover a 1974 Washington quarter in your pocket change, don't expect it to automatically be worth thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But don't ignore it either. Examine it. Check the date and mint mark. Look at the condition. Study the details. If you find something genuinely unusual, set it aside and investigate further. A common mistake among beginning collectors is focusing entirely on price. Instead, focus first on identification. Once you correctly identify the coin and determine whether it has a recognized variety or error, you can begin researching its value. Price should come after identification, not before it. Let's also talk about the emotional side of coin collecting. Finding an unusual coin can be incredibly exciting. You might imagine that you've discovered a hidden fortune. That excitement is one of the reasons coin collecting is such a popular hobby. But experienced collectors know that excitement should be followed by careful research. The best collectors celebrate discoveries while remaining skeptical of unverified claims. Suppose you find a 1974 quarter that appears to have a strange doubling around the date. Don't immediately sell it. Take photographs. Compare it with known examples. Search for references describing recognized varieties. Ask an expert. If it is a genuine variety, certification may help establish its identity and value. Suppose the coin has an unusual edge. Again, don't assume the worst or best. Weigh it, measure it, inspect it, and compare it. If the measurements are significantly different from standard specifications, professional evaluation may be worthwhile. Suppose the coin has dark surfaces. Don't clean it. Instead, determine whether the appearance is natural toning, environmental damage, chemical alteration, or something else. Surface preservation is extremely important in numismatics. The more you learn, the more confident you become. Eventually, you will begin recognizing common minting characteristics and separating genuine varieties from ordinary damage. This is where coin collecting becomes more than simply looking for old money. It becomes the study of manufacturing, history, economics, art, and American culture. The 1974 Washington quarter is part of that history. It was produced during a period when American coinage had already undergone major changes in composition and manufacturing. It represents everyday commerce in the United States during the 1970s. Millions of people used quarters like this without ever imagining that decades later, collectors would examine them under magnification. Today, many of those coins have disappeared into collections, jars, drawers, bankrolls, and old family possessions. Others continue circulating. Some have been damaged, cleaned, or worn. A small number may have unusual characteristics that make them more interesting to collectors. So if you have a 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark in very fine condition, take a closer look. Check the date and lettering. Examine the portrait. Study the reverse. Inspect the edge. Look for genuine errors and varieties. Avoid cleaning. Protect the coin. And if you believe there is something extraordinary about it, seek professional authentication. If your coin turns out to be ordinary, that's okay. Every coin has a story, and if it turns out to have an unusual error, variety, or exceptional grade, then you may have discovered something worth studying much more closely. Before you leave, take a moment to check your own collection. Look through old Washington quarters. Compare dates and mint marks. Pay attention to condition. Use magnification. Learn the difference between normal wear and unusual characteristics. You never know what might be hiding in a forgotten coin collection. Next coin number 3. This 1993 Washington quarter with the D mint mark, described as being in very fine condition, with a claimed market value of $211. This is an especially interesting coin to discuss because the 1993 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint in large quantities, meaning that the date and D mint mark alone do not make an ordinary example worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, exceptional coins can attract much more attention when they possess a recognized error, unusual variety, extraordinary preservation, or another characteristic that separates them from normal examples. Current reference sources show that ordinary 1993 with D quarters are generally worth far less than the claimed $211,000 figure, while exceptionally high-grade examples can command significantly more than circulated pieces. The Washington quarter is one of the most famous denominations in United States coinage. The design featuring George Washington has been familiar to generations of Americans. Since its introduction in 1932, the Washington quarter has passed through countless hands and has been used in everyday transactions across the country. When people think of an American quarter, the Washington quarter is often the first coin that comes to mind. But collectors know that there is much more to these coins than their face value. The coin featured in today's discussion is dated 1993 and carries a D mint mark, indicating production at the Denver Mint. According to numismatic references, the 1993 with D Washington quarter had a mintage of more than 645 million pieces, making it a very common issue in general terms. PCGS also describes the 1993 with D as common in most grades, while noting that high-grade examples, particularly MS66 and MS67, are much scarcer than ordinary circulated pieces. This is an important distinction for anyone watching videos about valuable coins. A coin can be common by date and mint mark, while still having rare individual specimens in exceptional condition. Imagine a large group of 1993 with D quarters. Millions may have been produced, and many may still exist today. Most of them experienced circulation, accumulating scratches, contact marks, dirt, discoloration, and wear. But a much smaller number may have survived with exceptionally clean surfaces and strong strikes. At the highest grades, condition rarity can become extremely important. Now let's focus on the D mint mark. The mint mark is one of the first details that collectors check when identifying a Washington quarter. On the 1993 issue, the D indicates the Denver Mint. When examining your coin, make sure that the mint mark is genuine and appears in the correct location. The mint mark should not be confused with damage, scratches, or other marks on the coin. A magnifying glass can be useful for examining this area, but remember that unusual-looking mint marks are not automatically evidence of a rare variety. The next important characteristic is the 1993 date. Make sure all 4 digits are clearly visible and have not been altered. Sometimes, damage around a digit can make a normal coin appear unusual. Collectors should compare questionable features with authenticated examples before deciding that a coin contains a rare variety. Now let's talk about the conditions specified for today's coin. Very fine. In the language of numismatics, very fine generally indicates a circulated coin that has experienced noticeable wear but still retains a substantial amount of its original design detail. The highest portions of the design will show wear, but the major elements remain clear. It is important to remember that an online seller's description of very fine is not necessarily equivalent to an official professional grade. A certified grading service may assign a different grade after examining the coin under controlled conditions. This teaches us an important concept called condition rarity. A coin can have a huge mintage but still be difficult to find in extremely high grades. During production, coins can contact one another, receive small marks, experience imperfect strikes, or be handled before reaching collectors. Over decades, many more are damaged or circulated. As a result, the number of truly pristine survivors can be much smaller than the original mintage suggests. If you own a 1993 with D quarter that you believe might be unusually valuable, do not clean it. This is one of the most important rules in coin collecting. Never polish an old coin simply because you think it looks dirty. Never use toothpaste, abrasive materials, household cleaners, or aggressive chemicals to make the surface shiny. Cleaning can permanently damage a coin and can significantly reduce its collector appeal. A magnifying glass can help you examine the date, mint mark, lettering, and possible errors. However, magnification can also make ordinary imperfections appear dramatic. A tiny scratch may look enormous under high magnification. Always consider whether the feature is actually significant. One of the most interesting things to search for on a 1993 with D Washington quarter is a genuine mint error. Errors occur when something goes wrong during the coin production process. Major errors can sometimes be highly collectible. Examples include off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, and certain dramatic die errors. But collectors need to be careful. Not every unusual-looking coin is a mint error. Damage after the coin leaves the mint can create strange shapes and marks. A coin can be hit by machinery, dropped on a hard surface, scratched against another object, or exposed to chemicals. Such damage is generally not considered a valuable mint error. That doesn't mean extraordinary 1993 with D quarters can never be valuable. It means the extraordinary price must be connected to an extraordinary feature. Collectors should distinguish between an ordinary circulated 1993 with D quarter and a certified exceptional or error example. The best way to approach coin collecting is with curiosity and patience. Don't focus only on the highest number you see online. Learn why a coin is valuable. Once you understand the reason, you can make better decisions. Do not sell a potentially valuable coin based on a random online comment. Do not mail it to an unknown buyer without understanding the risks. And do not clean or alter it before authentication. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more long-form videos about rare Washington quarters, valuable US coins, mint errors, coin varieties, old coins, Lincoln wheat pennies, Jefferson nickels, Roosevelt dimes, Kennedy half dollars, and valuable coins that collectors search for every day. Share this video with your friends, family, and fellow coin hunters, and tell us in the comments whether you have ever found a 1993 Washington quarter without a mint mark. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your next coin hunt. Keep your eyes open. Keep your coins protected. Keep learning, and never underestimate the possibility that an ordinary-looking piece of pocket change may have an extraordinary story behind it.